Hi everybody, old guy here. If there is a person deserving of a bronze statue in the middle of Winchester, Virginia, it is this guy, Spottswood Poles. He was one of the greatest baseball players ever and a World War I hero to boot. But all you'll find about him is a plaque outside the house near where he used to live. Why? Because Spottswood Poles was a black man born at just the wrong time. Right before the major leagues integrated, right before the U.S. military did too. Now, you know the names Satchel Paige and Jackie Robinson and Benjamin O. Davis, because they hit it at the right time. But the people born right before them, out of luck. This novel is probably the best read you're going to find on Spottswood Poles until someone does a real, necessary, and in-depth biography. Yes, this is a novel. It is a fictionalized account of Spottswood Poles' life, so take it with the appropriate grain of salt. It is highly readable, quite entertaining, and it serves the memory of Spottswood Poles quite well. It's worthy of your time, because Spottswood Poles was quite the guy. Born in Winchester, Virginia, Spottswood Poles is the son of a servant who works in the Conrad House, a sprawling, way too big mansion that used to sit behind the Winchester City Hall, but was turned into a parking lot in the 1970s because judges didn't like walking a couple of blocks. Major Conrad is the last of his line. His brother is dying in the Civil War, and is not the most popular of residents, having opposed secession and having once served in President Grant's cabinet. When the novel opens, Major Conrad hosts West Point cadet George Patton, who has brought the body of his granduncle, Tazewell Patton, who died in Pickett's charge, to rest with his grandfather, George's namesake, who died in the Third Battle of Winchester, buried in the Confederate cemetery in town, to lay rest next to each other. Yep, it's that George Patton. 40 years before he broke the Nazi lines and led the Third Army on a merry romp across France, my dad out front as part of the 602nd Tank Destroyer Battalion's Recon Patrol. There's all kinds of vignettes throughout this novel involving all kinds of other famous people, like Paul Robeson and Marcus Garvey. And the stories are quite delightful. Whether they're true or not, this is a novel. It sets the stage and the time and the attitudes that go with it. Whether Spotswood's progression from Sandlot phenom to formidable National League level baseball player is true or not, also immaterial. It sounds authentic. It sounds like what the pre-integration black population had to suffer, had to endure, and accept simply to assert their presence. Spottswood endures much, far more than any American should have, and it is a national disgrace that it took well until the 1950s and 60s to correct all that. The history of the world is one group seeking to break another, whether on the basis of race or culture or religion. That's why the founding of America, under the premise that each person owns themselves and is equal in worth to kings and dukes, is just so remarkable. It's completely ahistorical and an aberration. And it still took the Civil War and the Civil Rights movement to get it applied to everyone. Be grateful men like Spottswood Poles fought the battles you no longer have to. The author Wida Bayard, or Wada Bayard, I guess I'm butchering that, is a former reporter with the Winchester Star and has filled this novel with little stories of little places found around the area. All real history is local, and the culmination of what people did on one day and then the next. You will find the dialogue somewhat annoying because all of it is written like a conversation between aged, tenured professors speaking wryly and ironically at each other to see if everyone catches their nuance and reference. Every single conversation, no matter who's holding it. Makes for great reading, but rather inauthentic. Still, you're not going to find a better depiction of the life and times. At least not until that necessary biography is done. Little guy here.